This video brings a tough question. How many projects should we handle in parallel? In fact, there are different schools of thought when it comes to this, but ultimately, there's a common agreement that most of people do manage too many projects in parallel. So what is the right number? So if you have only one project, sometimes you may be waiting for information that you kind of stuck. So having two might be better, because when you're waiting for one, then you can work on the second. That makes sense. But when you're starting to having 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 projects in parallel, there's a lot of downtime in between moving from one project to another. So let's have a look at this video, and we're gonna have some other discussion in between.
This video from the Innovation Leaders Club will explain how to establish the right number of innovation projects and how to manage project activation. A common issue in innovation project management that explains the feeling of being overwhelmed is managing too many projects simultaneously. Learn the optimal number of projects and the gain you might get if you manage fewer projects. We have developed a 60-page visual guidebook on how to develop an innovation strategy. It is a fully illustrated step-by-step guide to building the foundation of an innovation system. Click the link in the description below to download it for free. The fourth objective is managing project activation so that an optimal number of projects are undertaken simultaneously. This helps to ensure prioritized projects are done first and reduces the overwhelming feeling one might have when too many projects are conducted simultaneously. This graph depicts the establishment of an optimal number of projects. This is based on an IBM study on efficiency in product development. They realized that their engineers were more performant when they handled 2 projects simultaneously. Any more than that, and their effectiveness decreased. This is an interesting discussion to have and to put in perspective in your workplace. Here, IBM wasn't looking at project managers, but at team members delivering added value tasks in the project.
So we have seen that 2 or 3 projects in parallel, it's an ideal number. You have to be careful, though. There is some organization while you're managing projects, and you have to wait for a lot of information or deliverable from people. So having only 2, it's not enough. So maybe having 4 or 5 is the optimum number. So you have to look at your organization and make a decision based on what is realistic. But having too many projects has a lot of impacts. So there's a survey that was conducted a few years ago, I think it was back in 2020, that we're going to see soon. And you will see that, in fact, people do manage more than 2 on average. And that's an issue. The issue is the in-between. It's the switching from one project to another. Because let's say if we have 3 projects to manage, each of those projects take a month to manage it, to make it happen. And if we manage one after the other, let's say that we don't have to wait for anything in probably like a month each, so 3 times. So probably that in 3 months, we'll have all projects completed, or at least the first 2 fully completed, and we're almost close to finish the 3rd one. The issue, if we manage the 3 projects in parallel, that they take a month each, after 3 months, probably what will happen is none of them will be completed. And that's an issue, because ultimately the value in innovation appears when it's completed and implemented, not when it's ongoing. So let's have a look.
How many projects do project managers run at a time? Based on a Project Management 2020 survey of 228 people, it shows that most project managers lead 2 to 5 projects simultaneously, reiterating the IBM study's conclusion. Then 15% manage only one project. 11% run 6 to 10 projects, while another 15% conduct more than 10 projects. Managing fewer projects at the same time should result in less downtime. Think of all the time it takes to get to something, concentrate, and be genuinely productive. Every time you change from one project to another, you lose that concentration. The table on the left illustrates the downtime in gray, accumulating every time you manage an additional project. On the right, you can visualize the inefficiency accumulating due to the downtime when alternating between 3 projects instead of prioritizing only one project 100% of the time. In the end, it results in significant efficiency gain up to 40%, considering a 20% downtime between projects. The efficiency gain depends on the downtime, which can vary from one project or person to another. While working on multiple projects at the same time can be perceived that the organization is more efficient as things seem to be moving faster, but it could be just an illusion. Alternatively, prioritizing and focusing on fewer projects simultaneously increases the organization's efficiency. Here is an example of activating specific projects in your portfolio while others are in queue. You can reuse the prioritization made for the portfolio review, which was a score of 60 based on multiple criteria to rank the projects. This prioritization is best when conducted per strategic arena, since you can go back to prioritizing the opportunities.
Looking at prioritization is a tough work to do. So one of the tools that was developed by one of our club members makes it interesting. So to look at the business trend, meaning that we're pretty good at it, so the chance for us to succeed is high, but also relates the business trend to the attractiveness. So higher is the attractiveness, more interesting it is for the organization, because it's either a large market, growing market, there's less competition, and ultimately we can get good margin in there. So that tool may help to prioritize. Ultimately, prioritization has to be used in order to identify which project should be active first and which should be in queue. Because like I mentioned earlier, less we have in parallel, more effective that we become. So we have to have the discipline of having some active projects and some other that are in queue and waiting for the active, at least if not completed to a certain level, or we know the completion will be done shortly. So let's have a look.
This mapping can be used to prioritize opportunities per strategic arena, since you can compare apples with apples. Then you can segment it into 5 priority levels so that you can better manage projects to activate them. Such an approach allows you to manage a large number of opportunities, and it indicates where your team should focus its efforts. For example, there should be less than 10% of opportunities in priority 1. When there is an opportunity in priority 1, all other efforts should be put on hold so that the whole team focuses on this specific opportunity. Priority 2 should comprise about 20% of opportunities. The majority of opportunities, roughly 40%, will fall under priority 3, where priorities 4 and 5 will account for about 20% and 10% of the opportunities, respectively. It's worth noting that most of the time, these will be rejected. Ultimately, based on the optimal number of projects your team can handle, you can determine which project will be activated while others will be queued. When one project is completed, your team can move on to the next highest priority project with the available resources.
Identifying the right number of projects to be active or parallel really depends on your context. Some organizations may have more than 3 or 4 parallels because that's the way their business are. But you got to be careful as an innovation leaders, as managing people. You got to make sure that you don't overwhelm them with projects. Most of managers overwhelm the project managers because they are afraid that they will have nothing to do and they're going to waste their time. So they overwhelm them with so many projects active in parallel. And then the efficiency really increase, and also the motivation. When you're overwhelmed, you're not so motivated, especially because it takes time to get things completed. When I go back to my initial or example that I had with one project a month, if you do focus on one project at a time, let's say if it's possible, you ended up having something that gets finalized every month. While if you're working, let's say, with 7 in parallel, most of months you're not delivering anything, and you feel that you're overwhelmed every day. So you have to have the discipline of make sure that you're not having that many projects active in parallel, and wait for the top priorities to be really close to an end before starting new projects, and having the discipline of having projects in a queue. See you in the next video.
If you haven't already done so, you can get your hands on our popular 60-page visual guidebook for free. Click the link in the description below. Don't hesitate to watch the next video to learn even more about innovation management practices.